Hi mates, I'm here in Africa. I couldn't take sitting around the house anymore, so I got out and took a plane to Africa. I hope you join me on this venture. I'm going to walk the trails. We're going to look for some big snakes and see what we can find on the trails, and go up the hills and look for lions and elephants and stuff like that. So I hope you join me, folks. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to check out some other sites all around the world too. I just had it was sitting at home anymore and decided to take a trip. So come with me for a trip to Africa and a bunch of other places too. We're going to look for some big snakes. Going to find some big snakes, folks. Yeah, going to take the trails and look for the snakes. Okay? Well, as I'm sure you've guessed by now, I'm not really in Africa. I'm just wishing I was in Africa. We are going to do some traveling in this video. I've recently been checking out some of the live cam footage that you can go to in YouTube. So I'm going to show you a few of those sites. They're actually quite neat to watch if you have some spare time in the evenings, for example. I knew they existed, but I hadn't really explored many of them. So the other day I sat and looked around and tried to see all the different types out there. You can get them that are focused on bird feeders all around the world. You can get underwater cameras, you can get zoo cameras, you can get cameras from trains, all kinds of things. These are kind of fun sites to check out. Just sit on them for a while. Especially, I've especially enjoyed the bird feeding sites in the tropics, such as Panama. There's a nice one, and there's some good ones in Africa, and I really like the African lodge cameras too. You can see the animals in the daytime quite readily, and then at night you get all the nighttime sounds and still see some animals roaming around. Hi mates, just got here to Africa. I'm at the lodge, and as you can see, tonight's a real deluge of rain coming down. The frogs are still singing, but it took me 2 hours to get here to the lodge in a jeep across the muddy waters in Africa and lion-infested bushveld. I'm lucky I made it here live, actually, but anyhow, it's great to be back to my homeland, and we're going to be walking the trails tomorrow. I'll be guiding you on some of the trails, and we're going to look at the lightning tonight. My God, it's going to be one heck of a storm when that gets here. And we're going to look for snakes on the trails tomorrow. I hope you can join me on this adventure, folks. I'll see you later. This is the Africam Coral Bush Lodge live camera. You can see in the background here there's another thunderstorm occurring just like there was last night. You can see a couple herons or storks or some kind of birds sitting there on the far side of the pond. And of course, one of the most mesmerizing things I like is the sound of the local insect fauna. Infrared cameras that can see in the dark, and quite often they rotate, as that one just did. They'll provide a 360-degree view over time. So if you sit and watch them for a bit longer, you'll get a wider pan view of the landscape. And of course, this is very good in the daytime when you can see better. This is Africam Rosie's pan-powered site, and a lot of these African sites are on this explore.org web connector site, I guess. This is probably a civet or a similar type of genet type creature out in the fields here. This is a live feeder camera in Panama. They have a range of fruits out, mainly bananas and oranges. And depending when you're watching, you can see quite a diversity of birds and mammals and night creatures as well. Quite amazing to watch. This is an underwater camera at Deerfield Beach in Florida, set up underneath one of the wharves down there, I believe it is. And it's quite a diversity of species you can see here if you watch long enough. Last evening, apparently I missed it, but around 9 o'clock apparently there were quite a few sharks showing up. But if you like snorkeling in the tropics, this is a nice sight to check out. You can see in the screen here some barracudas sailing by on the top of the screen, the long, skinny fish. They can get quite large depending what species they are. These are probably great barracuda, which can get, I think, 6 feet or more long. It's also like a little cuttlefish or something coming in at the bottom there. Various, oh, it's a puffer fish, sorry. Here's a live bird feeder cam in Ontario's premier provincial park, Algonquin Provincial Park, which lies about 2 hours north of where I'm situated, just north of Kingston. So you'll just get, at this time of year, just a range of winter birds. You can see here black-capped chickadees coming. There's usually some sparrows and blue jays as well to this feeder. Here's a live feeder cam in Ohio on a blustery day, showing a female cardinal and a starling on the right, and a house sparrow, a few house sparrows in there as well. Goldfinch. This is the Allen bird cam in Pretoria, South Africa. And as you can see, in the daytime, it's a very busy place. I don't know most of these birds at all, but you can see there's a dove in the foreground and possibly some finch-like birds and maybe some, not really sure what they are. You'd have to do some studying up on your African birds. And quite a complex feeding station here at this site. Pennsylvania Bird Feeder 2. You can see a number of chickadees, black-capped chickadees, and there's a tufted titmouse on the right side on the suet feeder. And here's an Ontario feeder watch sponsored by the Cornell University Laboratory. I'm not sure where in Ontario this is. I'd have to do a little more research on that, but as you can see, there's quite a few different sites to follow. Another Canadian site called Canadian Bird Nerd, live bird feeder, foothill of the Rockies. I've actually been to this site in southern Florida a few times over the years. This is Homosassa Springs, where they do a lot of work to try to save and rehabilitate the local manatee population. Quite often when you come here, you'll see the manatees swimming around with these large jackfish, but even the fish themselves are interesting to watch. Quite hypnotic almost in their movements and the way they look against the deep blue of the darker water. Here's another manatee site. This one is at Blue Springs State Park in Florida. It's not currently on my television anyhow. It's not very clear. Maybe the signal's not too sharp or whatever, but you can certainly see a lot of manatees there in the picture. So there's a few sites to look at manatees. I should say too, there's a lot of live cameras in different zoos around the world that are interesting to look at. They'll often have specific activities that are happening at the zoo highlighted on their zoo cameras. For example, some of you may have seen the ones in the last few years where they've got cameras inside of a giraffe's pen where they're expecting young giraffes to be born, and so you can follow them right along the whole process of when they're going to give birth to the day they actually do. You can find lots of live cams featuring nesting birds of prey. This is a falcon somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure exactly where, probably Sweden or Norway or somewhere, Finland. And just to finish off, thought I'd leave you with some of the majestic wildlife at some of the lodges that are featured on live cams. Here's the Tembe African Lodge, featuring some of its highlighted video. So a lot of these live cam locations show highlights every so often, because obviously if you're looking at the film whenever you come in, there's often nothing really happening, so you have to sit on there for a while to really see what's going on. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of some of the live cam sites and footage that you can see online, and give it a check out if you're bored of sitting around in the snow all day. There's some lion-elephant interactions at night. Catch you later.